I have learned to manage through emotional responses to things or that energy that just feels off. I have learned to be aware of what drives me, of what gives me joy, of what gives me pain, of what gives me unease. And through that awareness, I can understand and reframe whatever it is that's getting in the way. This week on the Rutledge Perspective, we're going to talk about understanding and recognizing what is getting in your way. Really digging deep into what it is that is the block so that you can take action to remove the block. So here's what I mean by that. For those of you who've been following me for a while, I talked about how, in my career, things would happen. And the first thing I thought was, okay, how can I say that different? How can I do it different? How can I modify what I'm doing or not doing, saying or not saying, right, to make the situation shift to what the outcome is that I wanted? And while that is a really great leadership trait in terms of looking to yourself first, as opposed to looking to someone else or looking to blame someone else, looking external, for reasons for something, it can also be something that can be really debilitating if you don't know when to stop it, right? You're constantly shifting stuff or adjusting or manipulating, trying to figure out what the thing is that you can just tweak just a little bit to fix. And you never just pause to figure out what's getting in the way in the first place, what's really getting in the way in the first place. So where this came up, and I thought about my clients and all of you who are probably suffering from some of the same things as we are trying to accomplish amazing things in this world, is often we are trying to make something happen and something doesn't feel right. Now, I woke up on Sunday morning. I have so much stuff to do for this certification that I'm doing that I'm really excited about. And I had so much stuff to do. But last week had been such a crazy week that I was just wiped this weekend. And so I did nothing that I intended to do this weekend. So I woke up Sunday morning, all completely overwhelmed, thinking about this week, thinking about the things I needed to do for me, thinking about the things I needed to do for my clients, thinking about the things I needed to do for home. I mean, it was insane. And I was so overwhelmed. I could literally feel myself, starting to shake, that nervous shakiness, right? Like you've just got to get moving, like something, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I had to stop a minute, did some EFT tapping, which I don't normally do on my own, but I did that and just paused, got ready for church, right? Had some really good prayer time and then came home and still just rested because I needed just a minute. I just needed a minute. And as I evaluated what happened, it was not that I didn't necessarily have the energy, although I was tired, or didn't have the focus, although focus was also a challenge at the time. It was bigger and deeper than that. I am really so excited and so looking forward to this certification. And yet I have my own hangups around certifications in general, right? I think certifications can be really great, but there are a lot of certified people who can't do the work that they are supposedly certified to do. Lots of them. There are lots of people hanging out shingles because they did really well on a test that really shouldn't be doing any work with anybody. And so I have this hidden kind of aversion to certifications. And this is someone who is certified, right? I've got other certifications. And I realized I did those certifications for other people, not for me. Well, this certification I'm actually doing for me. The study and the learning that comes with the certification, I'm really excited to dig into that. And it is truly a different level of learning that I haven't done in quite a long time. Because again, I spent a lot of time making sure my people were getting trained, a lot of time making sure they were getting the certifications they needed, and spent very little time on my own learning. And even as I have built this business, I've had really great coaches and done some learning like that, but nothing really structured in a very, very long time. So I realized part of the challenge is it's just that nervousness, right? Back to grad school, that nervousness of, can I even do this? Is this something? I've always been a great student, but you just don't know if it's going to work this time. And this is some pretty serious and pretty extensive and pretty expensive training that I'm embarking upon. So the real issue was not that I didn't have the wherewithal, I didn't have the desire. That was none of that. It was this deeper stuff that tied to old experiences, old doubts, old concerns that made me almost paralyzed, right? I was in full dorsal, right? That kind of freeze mode, fight, flight, or freeze. I was in freeze mode. And so when I was thinking about my clients around this issue and other people that I've worked with, and even some of the other people that are in this course with me, the question came up, do we take the time to figure out what the real block or real challenge is as we're trying to move forward into something? Or do we just take that experience that makes us really good at what we do and just move with that, right? That quick and approximate, because sometimes we have to be quick and approximate. But how often do we really take the time to say, wait, this doesn't feel right. It could be me. There might be something else I need to do. But before I just start changing a bunch of stuff, maybe I should sit a minute and figure out what it is that I need to be addressing. And how often, especially as leaders, and in particular, senior leaders or business owners, how often do you give yourself a chance to just stop and say, wait a minute, let's figure out what's really going on here, right? We often do that with our people. We get some really interesting behavior from folks and we're like, that is unusual. Let me ask a few deeper questions. What's really going on? Because that is unusual behavior. Or that's not normally the quality of work that I see from you. What's going on, right? We are quick to dig deeper when we see something that's not aligned from others. But do we take the time to dig deeper for ourselves and understand what it is that is driving the lack of connection or the fatigue or whatever the thing is that is getting in the way of you getting to what you want? So I sat with that for a while and realized this whole thing about, this training. I just got to really think about this training and how I want to do it. The other thing that I realized was there's a whole lot of noise going on that is tied to old experiences. Noise that after many years, right, of therapy and 6 years being in the business that I thought was really gone, or at least was so low in the background that it didn't even register. And that is noise around what's on my calendar. How much white space do I have on my calendar? Is my calendar really moving me forward towards the things that are revenue generating? Because I am building a big business so that I can build a huge foundation, right? There's a method to my madness. It's not just so I can say I'm in the 7-figure club, right? There is a reason and a purpose for what I'm driving, including the impact that I want to make on senior executives and on small business owners that can enable them to make the impact they want, right? It's a filter. I am a conduit to that greatness. And so that noise that was standing there that I didn't even realize was standing there truly got in the way. No white space. That means I don't have time to rest. That means I am running from pillar to post. I'm not having a chance to really think through what I need to do and how I need to do it. I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to drink. I don't have time to do any of the things that I really want to do. And oh, by the way, now I don't have time to do anything I want to do, so I'm not going to do anything, right? That subconscious rebellion that kicks up. And the reality is that we get to control where we put our effort and our energy. We have total control over that. We get to choose where we spend our effort and our energy. Now, that's not to say there are some things that we still don't like to do, but we choose to do them because they are in support of something else or because we're working for someone else and that's the job description, right? I'm not saying that there aren't things that we have to do, quote unquote. But we still have a choice in doing those things. How we do them, when we do them, the effort that we put in doing them, we have choices around that. And so when you get that anxiousness that is maybe triggered by the choices you have made, how can you go back and look at the impact of those choices and how you can redo, undo, realign, adjust, modify? How can you make a shift that then makes a shift in your energy, in your effort, in your attitude? I was driving to my trainer this morning because I work out very early in the morning with her. And the whole way there, I thought, my attitude is just funky today. It's just not, I'm not in the headspace I need to have. I'm not in that zone today. I'm not in that real genius level, effortless, making things happen. I'm not there. In fact, I'm kind of cranky. Part of that is weather, right? It's cold, not sleeping well, all those kind of things. But still, we have a choice about our attitude. We have a choice in how we show up. And so as I was driving, I was thinking, man, how do I get through this funk? How do I do something different today to make sure that I turn the day around? Because life is short. There's a lot of stuff to do, but there is a reason I'm doing it. This is not just busy work. How do I get my mind focused back on the purpose for the work so that the effort and the energy and the drive comes back? So I want you to ask yourself as you think through this week, especially if you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, as they say, if you are not quite sitting in your genius, you're not quite in your zone of getting things done, and you're not necessarily happy, but if you're not joyful or at least content in what you're doing, what is the thing that needs to shift? What is it that's really creating that consternation, that bubbling in your gut that's making you feel uneasy? What is that really? Because when you can pinpoint what that is, then you can take targeted action to address that, as opposed to, gunshot, right? Rifle shot where the buckshot goes everywhere, right? How can you be laser focused on what it is that's happening so that your action is laser focused in getting to a solution, right? A resolution. That's the thing that is really important as you begin to move your business, move your department, move your company in the way you want it to move. Being very aware of you, what drives you, what gives you joy, what is your zone of genius, what are the things that make you incredible at what you do, what are the things you don't love to do but you need to do, and what are the things you need to truly get off your plate and push somewhere else because it just doesn't make sense for you to be spending that effort. It is important, incredibly important, that you really think through what is it that's creating this craziness, right? What is driving you to feel the way you feel? Now, I have a fantastic therapist. I've been in therapy for a very long time, and I would not be where I am without it. And it has moved from a real kind of therapy thing to truly more of a combination of counseling and business coaching and all of these kind of things. The relationship has evolved over time, as most do. And because I was willing to invest in the time for myself, one, I was able to recognize on Sunday, I am truly overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on, but something is not right. I am overwhelmed. I was able to recognize it. Awareness is the key, right? You got to start there. I was able to recognize that something was off. Then I was able to use the tools that I have learned and that I've been given to pause and stop and evaluate, and even to stop evaluating, right? To just, Laurel, put it on the shelf and let it go for a minute, go do some other things and then come back to it. I have learned to manage through emotional responses to things or that energy that just feels off. I have learned to be aware of what drives me, of what gives me joy, of what gives me pain, of what gives me unease. And through that awareness, I can understand and reframe whatever it is that's getting in the way. So if you are listening today, I want you to rethink and reframe whatever it is that's getting in the way. Because if you are listening, then my assumption is you are someone who's got big things to do. You are someone who is trying to make some things happen, and something today may be getting in your way. Something is just holding you back. My charge to you is figure out what that is. Give yourself a pause. Don't just start trying to fix stuff, right? Don't just start throwing spaghetti up against the wall and hoping something sticks. Give yourself the gift of time to pause and think and evaluate and make an intentional decision about what, if anything, you're going to change. Because sometimes the decision is, you know what? I just need to take this weekend off. Because it will be there on Monday and it's going to be fine. Especially for those of you who are running your own businesses, it's your business. It will be there on Monday. It's going to be fine, right? Unless there's blood on the floor and bones sticking out, it's going to be fine. So give yourself an opportunity to pause and shift and rethink so that you can take all of your energy and effort and action and know that it is moving where you need it to move to get where you want to be. All right. That was a lot for this week because it's deep. You got to think deep when you're really trying to make some things happen. So give yourself some pause, give yourself some grace, and let me know what came up for you. As always, thank you so much for tuning into the Rutledge Perspective podcast. I truly appreciate every download, every listen. We'll be back on the radio show this week as well. And I'm excited to be able to connect with you there. Also, this week, for those of you who are listening on time or in the real time for the podcast, on May 4th, the big day of giving in Sacramento is happening. I have the honor of being on the board of advisors for Cancer Champions, and they are doing some incredible work around nutrition and fitness that has proven outcomes for cancer survivors. My friend Jen Miramontes, who started the organization, is also now moving in to help in Massachusetts with those who are suffering from sickle cell disease. So the work she does is incredible. Her heart is huge. She is one of only 500 people globally that is a certified cancer fitness specialist. 500 globally, y'all. So if you are so inclined, please go out to the Big Day of Giving. It's bigdayofgiving.org. Find Cancer Champions, donate to them. You can give for a $57, I believe it is. You can give a full month membership to someone who really needs that support with fitness and nutrition and one-on-one coaching to really get through this next phase of their cancer battle. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. You have been listening to the Rutledge Perspective podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and for connecting. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on my website at laurelrutledge.com/podcast. You can also find me on social media at Laurel K. Rutledge and/or The Rutledge Perspective. And I'd love your perspective on the things we talk about. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover, just let me know. And please share this podcast with someone in your village who may need this little piece of perspective today. And if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review on the platform of your choice. Apple Podcasts and Spotify reviews are particularly helpful. Thank you again for listening. Take care.